Hello there guys, Elita Legionarii here, and welcome to the Battle of Austerlitz, or the Austerlitz map for Napoleon Total War. This is like the hill camper's paradise, that monstrous Pratzen Heights directly in front of us up there. It's huge. But anyway, this was a 2v2 for Napoleon Total War, obviously. I'm playing as Russia, and I'll be joined by the SwedishLandsknekt. He is playing as Prussia, so Prussia and Russia are teaming up. And both their opponents are on the hill up there, and they'll be playing as France. So, my army consists of, I believe it was 4 units of Uhlans. I haven't actually formed them up yet. Then I had, I believe it was 3 Russian Jaegers. Was it 4 Russian Jaegers? It might have been 3. I can't actually recall. I think it was 3 Russian Jaegers. Then it was 3 units of Lifeguard Foot, and I believe it was 4. 3, 4. Yeah, it was 4 Musketeers, and then 2 Apelchini, which are like the just militia. And then they have a 20-pounder unicorn, and my general was just a general staff. Swede's army consists of, let's see, he's got he's a Prussian Fusilier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 muskets. Then he's got like 2 guards that I could see there. Another Prussian Fusilier. Maybe even was it? He's got 2 guards in there. He's got a 6-pounder artillery. And he's got some Jaegers. He's got lancers. And was there something I saw there? Nope, just snow. And he had more Prussian Fusilier that I can see, and then his generals are playing staff like mine. So it actually hasn't deployed yet, so I probably shouldn't have actually started it this soon. But basically, if we look here, as you can see, you can imagine how the assailing this position is going to be. It's one of the very hardest attacking maps. It's a massively camping paradise, basically. And we've got to attack it. Now, the only logical way to attack on a map like this would be to come up here around the left. 2 reasons. There's a lot of forest cover for one, and it's more of a gentle slope. Well, not gentle, but it's not quite as steep here. So we come up around here, we can get a breakthrough around here, and we'll go up this sort of section here, and it won't be as difficult as going up the front, and as suicidal as going up the front. The rules were nothing. There were no rules, so we were expecting a lot of artillery, and we thought about bringing a bunch of our own, but then at the same time it's just wasteful because our artillery will be much less effective going uphill like that, so we just brought one. I brought a 20-pounder unicorn, which is going to be very, very useful on this kind of map because it's going to allow you to lob shots onto the infantry. So let's check the armies. We have this first French army out here. It's got, I see, 2 chasseurs, 3 chasseurs, 4 chasseurs. Then he's got 3 Polish Legion. Then he's got a Guard Seaman, and a Dutch Grenadier, and 2 of the Old Guard. And then he's got a General Staff, and he's got 3 Rocket Troops. So here they go firing. So let's get some nice close-ups with the unlimited camera of the debug. The debug hanger, I can get you a nice close one. So nice action there, and I become the target of that for quite some time. Which tends to be the case every time I play Napoleon, actually. Well, quite regularly I get targeted by rockets. Then there is, let's see, 2 Carbineers and a General Staff over here. And then the other player, I can see a unit of Chasseur down there. And I don't see anything else. So I'm just going to go to double speed, I think. Triple speed tends to be kind of a wee bit sluggish. So we're just moving up around here, like I said, to take this higher ground. I don't think I've just double checked to make sure I didn't miss any of... Yeah, he had 3 foot guards. I thought he had 3 foot guards. Just to make sure I didn't miss any of Swede's stuff. And there's generals over here. And you almost completely forget about that for quite some time. So we noticed in a moment, here we go, you can see these 2 Carbineers and a General Staff coming down over here. Now don't discard the Carbineers as a gun cav. I know it sounds like a gun cav, but it's actually a cuirassier style unit, heavy cavalry, a good one too. So I'm still under bombardment, but the French player is clearly making a go at the 20-pounder unicorn, and he actually does get into a position to get it, because I wasn't paying much attention. We thought he was going to retreat back after that first little run there, but he actually turns around and makes it. And as you can see, I took my cav too far out, and now my unicorn's in a bad position. However, you're going to see that this is not actually that bad. While I will lose my unicorn, the French player is going to use two heavy cav and his general right away at the start, because Swedes is going to come in and get the encirclement. I've got my Uhlans coming in. I'm going to get the odd shot here. I've still got the gun sound mod on from before, so that sounds really cool. And I'll lose my unicorn, sure, but he's going to lose two very good heavy cav and his general right away at the start of the game. So yes, losing the unicorn's a bit of a blow, and I would have preferred not to that to happen, but his losses are, I think it justifies, because his losses are just as extreme as ours, or probably even more so. So he's sandwiched between the Prussians and the Russians. Cav, lots of explosions going on above us. Ooh. No, great stuff there. So probably that's a better trade-off from us. Sure, we lost my unicorn, which would have been handy, but he lost his general right away at the start, and those carbineers like 1,000 each, I think. So he lost definitely more money as well. So I think the trade-off worked pretty well for us, but we didn't go without our losses. Of course, we lost a bit of number to our cav, and that's going to be pretty rough there on the Swedes' cav there. Just a bit more. I decided to disengage at this point because Swedes has got this in hand. I do leave one guy in just in case he perhaps needs it, because Carbineers are pretty strong cav, it'll hold out. So Swedes is moving up here. He's going to sort of take this area along here. I kind of wish I had the drawing tool from Rome 2 at the moment. It's always a very good tool. He's going to move up along here, and I'm going to play a wee bit down this lower ground and use this kind of river and kind of hold his flanks and support him if possible. So here comes more shots coming in down on his cav there. So that artillery is going to be at us probably for 95% of the game, so it's going to be pretty rough. So there's a first bit of action there. Now you may want to skip ahead, guys. In fact, perhaps I could even skip bits of the video out, I don't know. So I don't think there's anything missed. So yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll skip some of the video, like just a little, I'll skip some of the video just a little bit while we're walking, and when there's some action about to happen, I'll bring it back in. So I'll be back in a moment, guys. Alright guys, you just skip a few minutes here. What's happened basically is Swedes has moved up here, and him and the French player began a little skirmish, just in this kind of ditchy area over here. There's some nice close-ups there. Swedes becomes the attention of the rockets though, from before. And I'm just moving my troops out to place to support. Now unfortunately there's not enough room for both myself and Swedes to work on this side, which is the most even terrain area, so I do have to take this area down here, which is a wee bit more disadvantaged, but we'll see how it goes. So anyway, I think Swedes, what Swedes should have done here is actually move these Jaegers back, because they've got more range than these chasseurs. I don't know if he noticed at the time. The French player is really opening up nicely. He's got his Polish Legion in support. However, with his Polish Legion this close, any stray shots from Swedes will come through and hit them as well. Swedes is onto it, so he's moving back there. So he's trying to take that, that terrain difference. Over here, what I decide to do is, I believe, the French player, more French guys are coming down. The Young Guards, I think it's two Young Guard and a Swiss force coming down. Plenty of action going on here. Some really, I love that gun sound effect. It is brilliant mod. And if you actually want me to show you guys how to get it, leave a message, and if I get enough of them, I could just put it in the description. Actually, I think I'll just put it in the description. Sometimes I forget to do stuff though. So just a bit of a skirmishing going on here. It's pretty even. However, because that line of infantry supports perhaps slightly in France's edge, maybe. What I decided to do here is bring up these militia units basically, and I'm going to meat shield so that I can shoot unopposed. So here come my Russian guys, true Russians because of the beards, as you can see. They're Russians and they got beautiful beards. Okay, no, I can't do a Russian accent. I know Swedes can do a good Russian, but I can't. So I'll probably hit some of my own guys here, but it doesn't matter. They're just a meat shield, absorbing shots, and they do a lot of good meat shielding for me. So I'm going to skirmish away here with this young guard. Get some nice free shots on with my guys here, which will come in handy. So just a lot of skirmish going on basically between the both of us. And it's pretty even. Good thing Swedes had so much infantry. And we both brought a lot of infantry because you need a lot of infantry. It's cavalry work's is still important, but it's difficult because of the height differences on Austerlitz. So we definitely went with more in the way of cavalry. I mean infantry. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So my first meat shield routes, but it will come back, which is very handy because I can keep meat shielding it. This one's still holding in there, and it's actually putting some shots down, which is very helpful. This one's getting a few shots, and because of the meat shield, it's not taking that many losses. But terrain is slightly against us, but line of sight's not too bad. There is, of course, all that rocket fire coming, which does not help, and they still have the height. Now there is some French cav was hanging around back here, which kind of kept us having to bring some of our cav back. Which is a bit unfortunate, but it doesn't end up doing anything much back. It does later, but not back there. So lots of beautiful gunfire going on here. Oh, that was gorgeous. And I mean, I should probably turn the camera shake off. Actually, it's kind of cool, but at the same time, it's kind of annoying. So I'm making sure we can't be outflanked here to get behind us. Now they probably, I thought it's most likely they'll stick to the hill, but just in case, you know, you should always be prepared. Because unfortunately, I've got to take this come at this from the lower ground because I just don't have the room to get over there without interfering with Swede's line of sight, which is a bit unfortunate. However, Swede has a beautiful piece of work here, and he starts cracking a flank open on the side, so he's going to start coming around. I see an opportunity here to charge with my cav. I thought these guys were reloading though, and my guys, as you can see, I had them running and they kind of weren't running, and I was very irritated by that. But I'm fortunate here because most of them were reloading, so I managed to get like at least half of this unit into these skirmishes here. Unfortunately, he just got a volley off there, but I still get 16 men in. This is going to stop the chasseur from firing, which is going to allow Swedes to push around even further. And I bring in a second one just in case. That first one kind of routed, but this one gets in very good numbers, or at least in 23 men. I'm going to be able to destroy this unit of chasseurs, cause lots of disruption. So a bit of a dangerous move, but at the same time, if we can call a breach here, we can kind of move around here, which is what we're going for. Because as you can see, we're going to get out skirmished at this rate. Even though we're skirmishing pretty well, we're doing quite good. Probably going to get out skirmished just because of terrain. Although we're definitely doing our part. It's definitely coming off quite nicely. And do these units have range yet? I think these guys start to come down here because there's not enough room for them to mail on the heights, so they have to come around here. So I'm glad I kind of cordoned this area off. However, I will likely retreat these guys back in a moment. I open up here and get a few nice shots on these Swiss foot. And these guys over here, the Brave, which I didn't see before. A lot of this was hidden. Dutch Grenadier and the 18th Regiment, the Brave. Over here, those Swedes are starting to crack this part open, which is nice. I lost my cav, but it did destroy a whole unit of skirmishers and then thinned this unit down by about half, or came close to it, so it was very helpful. So over here, we should be able to see some action. My musketeers. I mean, if you get the idea of the fight here, it's just a very large fight for this area here. Swedes has taken the most frontal role. I'm playing a kind of anchor support role and covering any areas that require him assistance while he can hold out. Unfortunately, my meat shields are gone again. However, actually no, one of them came back from routing. That was great, which is really useful because it just allows me to keep soaking up shots from him and protecting my own guys a little bit longer. Very, very useful. I move these two Russian Jaegers back because I don't want to. I don't want them getting. I want them to keep using their range, so I can do that. So I keep shooting up his guards here. However, this unit's in crossfire, so I'm going to have to withdraw it unless I want to lose it. These Prussian Fusiliers give me a bit of an assist though, and these just meat shields just maybe get the odd stray shot off and absorb some fire for us, and get them to waste some ammo. Now they're reinforced over here with the Young Guard and a Polish Legion. The Swedes got his guys here, but the key thing is here, both myself and Swedes have reserved our best. Life Guards and our Foot Guards have not yet begun any sort of engagement at all, and we're going to reserve them for as long as possible, whereas our opponents have committed kind of like a lot. There's my phone, guys. I'll just go answer that, be back in a tick. Righto guys, sorry about that. Phones ring, you know. Anyway, still skirmishing away and doing pretty good because I've got the range edge over here. And it's working out pretty well here, and as I was just saying before, they've committed a lot of their line. There's still a bunch of old guards up the top there and the young guard, but they've committed most of their line here, whereas me and Swedes have kept our strongest reserved yet, and that makes a difference. Now however, there is this annoying threat of these 3 units of Chevaux Legionarii Lancers, very good cav out the back here, so I have to use my Life Guards and Swedes cav to kind of keep those in check and make sure they don't try and slip and kind of get behind, and I can use these guys to kind of cover that. So my job in this fight is to constantly check flanks and observe the right wing and all that, while Swedes kind of takes the frontal edge because his guys are probably better shooters than my one. I'm not sure. I think Prussia's probably better at this kind of line infantry slogging than Russia, but I'm not sure. But I'll support them where I can, get a few shots off here. As you can see, getting my shots off, you know, pretty good against these infantry units here. Just moving these guys back so I can continue to get the range. However, I'll be in crossfire here, unfortunately, which is something I wanted to avoid if possible. But bring my cav, Swedes cav, and I'm going to bring you possibly use some of my Life Guard to help here, or some of my musketeers seeing what's happening. But big skirmish still going on, big kind of line battle. It was at least nice of these guys to come down off the hill, because if they'd stayed on the hill this would have been tricky for sure. I mean, it's still a difficult fight because they still have the terrain edge, but it's not unfeasible, and it's certainly, you know, fair. So I mean, there are a lot of campers on Napoleon, you know, maps like Austerlitz, Borodino, Waterloo, and stuff like that can be very campy. Over here, once these guys get into position, my muskets won't survive very long. I didn't want to risk running back because I knew they'd get destroyed. However, so I'm just thinking I'll just put some shots down, get a bit of damage in, see if I can chew up some of his ammo, whatever, just do as much damage as I can here, while I skirmish away with this one. And this guy's this one I've had to turn to face here, otherwise it's going to be in cross shot. But I've got some more tactical reserves. He's trying to get a breakthrough here, this cav. I did manage to get rid of that guy when you tried the brave, when you try going to melee. Russians are good at melee, and I'm getting a few good shots off here at least. Let's see what Swedes got going. Again, Swedes is trying to kind of push in over here so he can wrap on this flank, and he does start to do this, which is really helpful because it allows us to get around behind their line and force them back more. The thing is with them though, they've got this really good line of retreat that'll allow them to take the hill again, which is very annoying that they've got to be able to go to the hill that easily because it makes us harder. However, we get a nice route going on over here, so we can kind of get a breach. We're doing pretty well in the skirmish fight, which is very useful indeed. As you can see, Swedes has got his breakthrough, so he'll move this musketeer onto the edge here and start getting crossfire, forcing these guys to retreat back and so we can take up. So that was a really nice piece of work there by Swedes. Unfortunately, these guys have broken over here, so I'm going to have to commit more to the holding of this wing. Otherwise, we'll be outflanked ourselves. However, his effort to outflank us really cost him. It's cost him the brave units and a lot of his men there, just for 2 of my musketeers. So he's lost more elite units probably. It's probably slightly in his favour, but the loss is not really that useful to him. So skirmishing still goes on, and these artillery are just rockets. Thankfully rockets are not overly accurate, but I suspect they will have got a lot of kills just because of the amount of time they were firing. So over here, the cav comes in, and I was really worried about my skirmish units, so I was trying to get it to run out. Unfortunately, I do believe just because of the way the terrain worked, I hit a lot of the ground here, so I didn't actually get any of his cav. That was very unfortunate. So I start positioning one of my musketeers to get into position, so I can get into squares. I'm trying to hold him up, but give other units a bit more time, because unfortunately he's got the breakthrough over here. So I take the risky move and think, do I have enough time to get a shot off? And I do get a shot off, and it's very helpful, and I think I'm just going to have enough time, and I get the square after I got the shot, so that was very, very helpful. And then we send our cav in from the flank here. We have to be careful though, because it's going to force, this is a clever move, because it means we'll have to retreat our advances over here if they rush the cav through here and mow up our line, which is exactly what they're going to attempt to do. But they do lose the cav, and the cav is kind of trapped between my line here. But what's happened is there's a bit of a gap in here, so it's a bit risky. You have to try and regroup that. Here we saw the Swiss foot was out of square, because he put these guys into square in case our cav would try it as well. So I said to Swedes, let's give this one a crack when I noticed it, because he was busy trying to micro his area, and I thought, let's get that Swiss foot there while it's out of square. So as you can see, I used my lifeguard foot here to try and regroup this, but he's going to get into square just as we kind of get into the fight. As you can see, sometimes when you're running, you mean you're not running, even though you've got talent. So it's probably just because they're really tired though. Swedes does make the breakthrough up here. However, because of their cavalry work and the fact that we had to kind of draw things, it's caused him to be isolated. So even though it was a great breakthrough, it was a pretty good cav move, and he's able to take his cav in, and they did take a few losses, but it allowed them to recover what was going to be a very good breakthrough for us. However, because he's still in squares here, this unit regrouped, so I'm getting some flank shots on that one, and I've got my skirmishers here, and I'm using my musketeers to get some shots on these guys while they're in square, while my opponent's still forgotten to take them out of square. Swedes now goes into square himself, so he should be able to hold these cav up for quite a while, and we're going to move some more units over here to try and kill those cav, because if we can get rid of those cav, it gives us a bit of an advantage there. Still pretty even now, slightly against us, but it was slightly before us before, so you got to watch this line. See this line of sight, this little ridge here, a lot of my guys are actually hitting it. I didn't really notice that, you see, so you've got to constantly watch for that, and I quite regularly forget to do so, but I'm sure I'm not the only one. So that's probably why this unit's not really taking any losses, and I was kind of wondering why. But I didn't really think to look at the terrain, but this unit's probably getting shots. And my opponent does move it back though, because he probably thinks they are getting shot, because when you're up here zooming down, you can't really notice it. So Swedes is doing a pretty nice job holding out here. The Dutch Grenadiers are more of a guard style unit, so they should, or Grenadier guards sort of unit, they'll defeat his musketeers. And these cav get withdrawn back. So kind of it's turned into a stalemate again. And we still maintain a pretty even field, so pretty long skirmish and line duel right there, and we had breakthrough on our side, they got a bit of a breakthrough on theirs, but we kind of both cancelled each other out. So a lot of tactical stuff going on here. I'm really enjoying this when I was doing it. So anyway, at this point, it's getting a bit of melee action here, get rid of these young guard, it's a good guard unit out of the way. At this point, it's sort of a stalemate, but we've probably got the edge here, because what's happened is we've still got 6 foot guards left between us, whereas they've got they're only about 3 old guard up there and a few cav left, so we've preserved more elite units for longer, and I've still got some musketeers which I can use to hold out any other units, so we've kind of given ourselves that little edge by playing a little more careful that way, and that's coming quite handy. And for now we're just picking off what's left of these troops here with my lifeguard foot at this stage, and we've still got some of my skirmishers as well, which are popping some shots off as well. So I think like we played it a little more cautious, and we tacked in waves and tried to reserve our best units for longer, which really saves us here towards the end of this fight, whereas they kind of committed everything. There is still 3 old guards up there, or 2 old guard and a guard seaman or something like that, but we've got 6 to their 3, so it's like twice as many, so it's good that way. They do have their cavalry, but I do believe we destroy that pretty soon. At the moment, just sort of skirmishing away here with these remaining French troops, and I'm using my
life to help. I've got a foot, and over here I'm just still got enough musketeers and a regroup Jaeger, Russian Jaeger, to stop these Swiss foot from getting on the flank. And still with some of my cav, and Swede's still got his 6-pounder horse artillery. That's going to come in handy in the particular instance in this fight, because once we get rid of that the French cav, I believe I must have gone into hiding again. Once we get rid of it, we'll be able to move that in and put it into canister shot when we get it to range, which will be very handy. So over here, these young guards are coming in, but they're going to be in crossfire between my lifeguard and my musketeers. Now, ordinarily I wouldn't recommend going for a melee battle with a plain line against a guard. However, this one's thinned out and weakened. There's a nearby cav, and I can use one of my own lifeguards to help. And also the Russians are good at melee fighting, so they'll actually do pretty good in this situation, which I'd otherwise not recommend at all, because it just wouldn't be worth it, because guards always beat line. But Russians are pretty good at it, as I said, and there's a lot of supporting units, so we get rid of that young guards. There's a good unit destroyed as well. So over here, I still got some of my Uhlans left, not very many, because they've been under bombardment for quite a while, and various other things have weakened them. But I'll use my two musketeers and stuff to keep these Swiss foot out, and that gives us 6 guard units and a couple of skirmishers left as well to stop these Polish Legion, some of these cav, and these, here we go, there's 2 old guard and a guard seaman. So we definitely have the advantage in quality of units and actually in numbers. So the old guard is absolutely brilliant, so is the guard seaman, but there's only half the numbers of guards to our full 6. Plus we've got more skirmishers at this stage, or at least I've still got the skirmishers. I believe that's their only. These 2 chasseurs, so they're still there. Here Swedes is moving up, and the French player goes to try and get him here, and I believe this is where Swedes going to get these cav at last, which is very, very helpful, because by getting rid of these cav, that really deprives France of one of its very what could have been quite a deciding component in their army, but Swedes does a nice job dealing with it. So he's going to move out onto this flank up here, and move up here. However, I told him not to bother with this yet. I said this is skirmish, thin out these chasseurs so that they can't skirmish us, and then if I've got skirmishers left by that point, I can skirmish with him. But I think he's going to get one quick shot in here, just to get these guys to take a few nasty hits first, so we can turn the fight over, which was a pretty good idea. But he's on the flank now as well, which is working out quite nicely. As you can see, my cav and my 2 musketeers here can keep these Swiss foot out, and they're too isolated from their other troops, so they can't really support them very easily, and they'd be blocked out anyway. I'm just going to come in handy now. I have to reposition my guys here, because Swedes guys will get shot by my guys if I don't move, and then they're not a meat shield, they're a foot guard, we don't want to waste it, and they still have that terrain edge, so we have to play it carefully. So we're going to have to get into good angles and lines here to make sure we don't blunder the advantage we've managed to achieve. If we make even one little mistake here or anything like that, or lose any units unnecessarily, we'll just lose it again, because these French guards are still going to be really tough, and they're better than both our guards. Even though our guards are good, the French guards are still better, especially old guard. That's probably the best guard unit in the game. Or the Semenovsky foot guard's pretty on par as well. Sweden's got a real nice angle on this Polish Legion, and that's a pretty good line infantry too, but that won't hold up under this kind of weight of attack from three angles, in front and on the flanks there. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm trying to use my Russian Jaegers, even though they're absolutely exhausted, so they're hardly moving, but I'm going to use them to try and get a bit of a range advantage on the old guard there, while Swedes just sort of keeps us going, and he's easily tearing up that Polish Legion. Doing a very, very nice job indeed. We're still under bombardment, which is always giving us plenty of fireworks in this fight. They always look really awesome on the replay, as you can see here. Those are fantastic stuff. Beautiful. I really do like the rockets in the replays, but they're a bit of an annoying thing in the battles. So Swedes is going to move back here, I believe, because he's in some danger there from these old guards, and his guards at this disadvantage with old guards will lose. We're going to try and combine our attack to deal with those, but first what we were trying to do was use my Russian Jaegers to try and just sort of take a few pop shots at them. However, because my Russian Jaegers were so exhausted, I couldn't move them back fast enough by the time he could, because his guys are confident and a little more fresh than my guys. Every time I tried moving back, he'd move forward and I wouldn't really have my range advantage. I do eventually get it, but it took me a while to actually get there. Let's see. Just keeping an eye on those Swiss foot in the back, so there is a bit of a scrap with them at some point as well. So anyway, just trying to get a few pot shots here, but this retreat here, because the Swedes are so exhausted, is costing him quite a few men as well, so it's probably better if he could just turn around and take this fight, to be honest. So over here, the French general comes in, try and get Swedes general. I believe I send my 2 Russian cav in to try and kill that French general, because we've not lost either of our generals, and if we kill that last general, they'll have lost both their generals, which will do some significant morale damage to their armies altogether, with both their generals dead and ours still alive. However, I made a bit of a blunder here. I took my eye off what I was doing here, as I believe I was microing something somewhere else or doing something else, and my cav kind of runs straight forward into his guys here, and Swedes reminded me of it, but I was too slow to react to it, so I think I'll lose my cav as it is. So anyway, skirmishing out here with this old guard, and I do believe pretty soon that my Russian Jaegers are going to run out of ammunition, and I'll start using them as a meat shield, and then bring up my lifeguard of foot, yeah, I use my lifeguard of foot, basically use these guys as a meat shield and then bring up my lifeguard of foot so I can get some nice shots on those old guard. I'm trying to keep my lifeguard of foot in pretty good numbers. They are taking losses though, because they're under constant bombardment. There's nothing I can do about that at this stage though. But as you can see, we're kind of drawing them down, drawing them back a bit. It probably would have been better at this stage to just retreat and stay on the hill, yeah, at this stage, if you they probably should have retreated back up the hill, because we have that, the superiority of guards, and that would have, it works to our advantage if they keep coming down here like this. But it was nice of them to actually come down. It was sporting, and I always appreciate that when players do that, especially on maps like this one. There's no reason why a map like Austerlitz can't be awesome, as long as it's not ruthlessly exploited over and over again. I mean, it would be very frustrating if people were just constantly hosting on this map just for the sake of having a camping map. Which would be very frustrating. Although personally, even though can be a very hard map to actually fight on, I personally find maps like Borodino and Waterloo even more difficult, because it's just impossible to get a good flanking position on this map if you haven't got... They're maps where you have to have artillery, and if you don't, you're going to pay for it. So anyway, enough of my jabbering on about that. I'm skirmishing away here, and Sweden's now got his artillery firing in. This is where a howitzer would have been much more useful, because howitzers are way more effective against infantry, while normal round shot artillery is much more effective against cavalry. Seeing as there's no cavalry left, Swedes are just going to use these guys. Let's see if we can get some close-ups of these guys firing away. But that artillery will come in handy later on, because you'll get in closer for a canister shot, which will be nicely timed. Anyway, so we're getting a nice few pop shots off on these guys. I'm not getting many hits though. The terrain's not great. My guys are kind of exhausted and various bits and pieces like that at this stage. So, but as you can see, we're still in pretty good numbers, and I believe at this point the French player does initially realise that going uphill would just be in his advantage here, because he's outgunned. Even with his great guard units, he's outgunned because we have the numbers. We've got 6 guard units, I believe, or at least 5 guard units now, and an artillery. Oh, here's another foot guard and a musketeer down here. So yeah, we definitely have the numerical gun, like the line of superiority here. So he needs to nullify that by taking high ground, which is smart. But I mean, I think we handled this pretty well, because they definitely had the better position, and really they definitely had the better line infantry as well. For the most part, a lot of them were pretty elite line units. Skirmish wise, I'd say it was pretty even. maybe slightly in our favour, which is probably why it helped a bit there. But those meat shields came in really handy too, because they basically meant he was shooting my meat shields while I was still able to shoot him, so it kind of allowed those skirmish fights to go in our favour. So at this stage the old guard's going to line up here, and I'm baiting him with this unit of Russian Jaegers, which I think is out of ammunition at this stage. Not really sure why it stopped, but what I'm going to do is use it as a meat shield so that I can then basically counter shoot it with my lifeguard foot here, basically, while Swedes again moves up onto the flank. It was at some point Swedes gets tired of the it takes a little. I think he's going to start doing it now. He's going to try and slip his general all the way around and get rid of these rockets, which have been irritating us this entire fight. They haven't been too drastically bad. Here the French player makes a bit of a mistake with his general. I'm baiting him here again, and I really want him to do this, and as you can see, my lifeguard foot are going to absolutely just wreck his general's unit, and I think that's him there, is it actually? Is that him? I don't know, or is it just a standard guardsman? Yeah, there we go, I think that was him getting killed. So at this stage, with no cavalry to oppose us, I believe Swedes will start sending his general up. I didn't think to use my general, to be honest. I wasn't entirely certain, actually. I found that sometimes generals' units can get destroyed by artillery crews if you're not careful, but I don't think it's too big a deal. But with both their generals dead, we have a significant morale boost now. So we're going to, well, you know, they've got morale penalties. We've got both ours alive. It gives us a bit of a advantage here, and we have the numbers, guard numbers superiority. So I'm going to use my Jaegers here as the meat shield, draw them up, and then get these guys into range. As you can see, some of my lifeguards have really lost numbers under all this concentrated fire, but we couldn't be too hasty with things, otherwise we would have just lost them sooner, and we really would have stuffed it up. But as you can see, because we've got the numbers here, either whatever person they choose to face, they're going to get in crossfire by the other one of us, so that's going to be really useful. So Swedes, again, he's under quite a lot of bombardment as well, and he's trying to get this artillery, I believe, but I'm just trying to get my guys up into range here. Swedes is now opening up on these old guards. He's not positioned very well here, as you can see, because he's kind of like in the way of his own troops there, so you got to watch stuff like that. And now I'm going to unload onto these old guard up here and bring in my various units and got cross shots onto them, so very bad positioning on his part. And I think it was at this stage, what happens here? I believe he's going to reorganise himself correctly now, but I'm going to use my guys here as I'm going to go into melee deliberately, because this will just clump these sea guard seamen up, which means they won't be shooting at anyone, or we'll both be shooting at it, and that'll give us more extra free shots without any hits hitting us. While Swedes is going to set up and go for canister shot, get some nice point blank shotgun blasts into these guard units. So this unit's in a melee and it's not able to fire back, so it's getting like smashed up by 1, 2, 3 units, while these 2 units shoot this guard unit up here, and Swedes is going to start sending his general up to get rid of those rockets. And as you can see, this unit's not been able to fire back, and as a result it's lost about 30 men, with not any one of us taking any losses. That worked quite well with my Russian Jaegers there. I think it was like right here, he's about to get wasted, and then he gets this beautiful canister shot off. I think like point blank canister shot, just as he's about to get run down. I don't know why this guy didn't just shoot him, but I think, yeah, there you go, straight in the face, so they get routed. And over here this unit gets routed, and then this unit's fighting too. Now it's doing pretty well because it's got the high ground there, but I will get it because I've eventually got 2, and now we'll start moving men into position at this stage. So Swedes, I believe he's going to carry on here with his general staff and get rid of them, because we've pretty much taken the fight now. I mean, as soon as we can kill that artillery, it seems to still think it's pretty much 50-50. But at this stage, these guys have begun the fight. I almost forgot about this. They've come over here, and I'm going to again use this unit as a meat shield. This because it's out of ammunition, and that'll allow my musketeers to open up on these Swiss foot. Yeah, they're Swiss foot. Unfortunately, before I could get them into a melee situation, they were out there. But I got the high ground and some cover there, so I should be able to win that fight. Although they are better gun, better line infantry, I do have the numbers and the position. Over here, as you can see, we break that unit of guard seamen, and it's just this one old guard that's holding out now. And Swedes off to kill those rockets, so we'll finally see the end of them. So this unit breaks, and this final unit's, I believe, run out of ammunition at this stage, so I'll be able to finish that off pretty quickly. So this last old guard's all that's left of the, more or less that's all that's left. And as you can see, Swedes is going to put pay to these blasted rockets once and for all. After a very hassling experience under them. I wonder how many kills they actually got. I'm not actually too sure, but they are finally guys. And one thing to note too with Napoleon Total War is that basically artillery never runs out of ammunition, so it's kind of annoying that way. These units can constantly fire at you and never run out of ammunition. Who are they firing? Strange. Anyway, while he's dealing with that, I believe I open a few more shots up on these guys while they go into a melee, and then I believe I decide to just go melee myself, get the odd little extra one, and then finish these Swiss foot off once and for all. So there is the remainder of those troops I finished, at which point we are left with just the old guard here. So I'm just going to, I'll suppose just triple speed because there's nothing left on the field, so it shouldn't lag too much still. Triple speed always lags, while Swedes just mops up the rest of those RD units with this general, and this is going to come in quite handy. So at this stage, this becomes a melee fight. But the old guard is definitely better in melee than Prussian foot guard, plus it's got the height advantage. But if it's in melee like this, we just decide to just dump the remainder of our guard units into melee and just swamp it. I love those uniforms. Now I bring my lifeguard, 2 lifeguards in as well, so they're not. It's basically over for this. This old guard puts a good count in, as old guard always tend to, and they can do this sort of thing. So a pretty epic battle, I thought. It's felt pretty rewarding to overcome a map like Austerlitz, especially attacking it, because it is seriously a major defender's map. And of course there was no rules, so we were expecting like tons and tons of artillery. We're pretty fortunate we did get rockets, because I think howitzers and things could have been really scary on this map. But at this stage we rout those we rout those old guard at last into a nice big melee scrap at the end there, and that's pretty much this fight over. I think it's just wait until that unit there we go. So there we go. Swedes, as you can see, was the man of the day with 1,143 kills. He did take 1,153 losses though, so he did lose quite a bit. I had 864 and 983 losses. I played more of a supporting role, covering his flanks while he took the major fight at the front and lending support with wherever he needed it and just skirmishing next to him. But I played more of a supporting role in that fight. But it's a team effort, and it, without one, it doesn't kind of come together. So especially on a map like this where you've got to work together. The host here, Confused V2, he had 814 kills, lost 1,315 men, and Pierrot, his ally, had 1,102 kills and lost 973. We've got my kills, my lifeguard of foot. 2 of them, 120 and 101, then my musketeers 101, 94, 92, 85, so and this lifeguard got 51, so all my line infantry actually did fairly good in this fight. My Russian Jaegers, they did average, but they were under a lot of pressure, so they kind of just played a more of a supporting role, and it was quite handy that way. The Uhlans, there wasn't too much sort of opening for them, but they kind of caused a bit of harassment, distraction, and various bits and pieces like that. The meat shields, they worked exactly the way I wanted them to, and then some of these other units didn't really do much, and of course that 20-pound unicorn got destroyed right at the start. But honestly, this was a really, really good fight. Thoroughly enjoyed this one, and honestly it was very awesome. So thanks to Swedes and the other two guys. I'll link Swedes' channel in the description, of course, so go and check his channel out, guys. Great stuff there. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you soon next time.